right. Hey guys, I want to do a quick video to cover what the heck happened last night. Had a big scam wick here on the daily chart, and talk about why that happened and what I think happens next. So, if you were paying attention after market close last night, so when I say market close, for anybody that doesn't know, the stock market is the regular hours are 9:30 to 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? And then you have futures like CME futures and Coinbase futures that close from 5 to 6 p.m. And so what happened is you'll notice right here. So I'm on Eastern Time at the moment. At 5 o'clock, the 5 o'clock candle, and if we go down to a 5-minute, you'll notice that this big sell-off, the market was down just shy of 4% in 5 minutes, okay? So there was like some systematic selling, and then once it hit this low, there were a ton of stops behind this pivot low, and that's what triggered that, basically a stop run. So if we go into an hourly candle, you'll notice where that area was. It was below this prior pivot low area where the market, after a breakout, a lot of people stack stops really close. So we got the breakout, and then it was like, okay, are we going to get a breakout during the day? Pulled back. Nope. Okay, it wants to come grab some stops. So I was watching this, and I actually had some stops behind this pivot low on CME futures, which I don't really love using hard stops on spot markets because I know we can get these big wicks. But on the futures markets, they're actually more liquid. And what I thought was just very strange is that this candle happened when the futures markets were closed. So again, look at this. This is the 5 o'clock candle. When you look at the CME futures, there is no wick because we go from the 4 o'clock candle to the 6 o'clock. It just doesn't exist. And so my stops that I had down here, actually they were further. I think they were like just shy or just above 94K, just as kind of like a protective thing. They never got triggered because the damn market was closed. So it just makes me wonder like how this happened and who was manipulating it. That's definitely what it feels like, is somebody or some institutions or something was like, hey, the futures markets are closed. They're harder to scam wick even after hours. So like, let's do a stop run here and grab these stops. Basically they can buy low. So like anytime, the crypto exchanges have a bunch of stop orders stacked. If these are stop market orders, that means, oh, just get me filled wherever you can. And so some people that were long over here and they had stop market, somewhere in here, they could have gotten slippage as far down as the low of this wick. So imagine if you like bought the breakout and then this happens and you have an order and then you don't get filled until like 92K. Like that's why we call it a scam wick. And it doesn't happen nearly as often as it used to. I mean, this used to happen all the damn time. And in the crypto markets, exchanges would go down, like the websites would crash and the order books would like clear up. And so these games are not unheard of. They're just less frequent nowadays. But if they are going to happen, they usually happen around major price zones. So 100K is absolutely a major price zone. And what this feels like to me is a stop clearing motion before continuation to the upside. So I've been watching today to see how this price action is actually behaving. And you can see after that crash, it immediately came back up to 97K. And then if you look at where the CME futures opened, it was at 97K. And there was a little sell-off. Let's go down to a 5-minute again. So you can see, right when the CME futures and the Coinbase futures opened, I noticed, people that were trading the CME futures like me that had open positions, some of those people were like, okay, I think the smart move is to just sell as soon as this thing opens. And I'm like, I don't think that's the right thing, because I think this was a scam wick. And I was actually on Tone Vay's live stream last night when this was playing out. I know some of you guys were in there, but what happened was you got that initial like sell off from people that are like, just get me out. I don't get what's happening. But then right away, the market recovered, and it's been climbing this, what we call the wall of worry, where it's like, something scary happened. But then price just kind of stabilizes, and it did that overnight and in the morning. And then you can see here in the pre-market and then going into market open, bulls are back in control. And look at that. CME futures are back above 100K. So if I go to an hourly, you can see they close the gap and then some. And so if we look at regular spot markets, like on Coinbase, there was the wick, wall of worry, pop off of market open. This is the 9 o'clock candle. It's about just shy of 11 a.m. right now. So it's almost like it never happened, right? It's crazy. So what I'm thinking are the biggest potentials. I talked about this on the live last night, but for you guys, I'll expand a little bit. So we've still have this like trend line of support, and 100K on spot is still resistance, right? We got above it yesterday, made it to a high of exactly 104,000 here on Coinbase, and then had that pullback into the market close. So it was like, okay, we were excited, right? It was like the market was like, oh my God, here we go. On Wednesday night, this is when it broke out, and we all celebrated, and it was fun because it was like an event, right? But that doesn't mean that it has to hold up, or that it's going to just be pretty in games and we're going to go from 100K to 1 million right away. Like, that's not what the markets do. The markets cause people pain. And that's what happened last night. And you can see, the market basically cleared stops on both sides, right? Anybody that was short and had stops above 100K, well, they got liquidated. And then anybody that was long and had, at least stops on spot markets, a lot of them got liquidated. So I absolutely 1000% got so lucky that I didn't get liquidated on my futures account. It wasn't like a massive trade, but it was meaningful. And it's just wild to see how the market does this sometimes. So anyway, what are the possibilities and probabilities? Well, one thing that I think is fairly likely is that 95K becomes a magnet. And I think today will be very telling. Like, if we actually get a run into the close and we get a meaningful close well above 100K, maybe 102, 103 or something up here, then I think that this was basically a liquidation event before continuation, and we're just going to continue this trend pretty immediately. But if not, if we close below 100K today going into the weekend, the more likely scenario is that we have like inside days over the weekend, meaning we are inside the prior day's ranges. So maybe we bounce around 95 to 100. And then if the stock market goes slow, and actually that's not what's happening today. We made a new all-time high on the NASDAQ today. We're holding up above the Wednesday breakout. So if Bitcoin follows this, this could actually help Bitcoin pull out of 100K resistance quicker. But if not, let's say by the end of the day, the NQ pulls back below yesterday's high and it kind of, the volume falls off. We're going into now the second week of December, which is historically when things start to slow down for the holiday event. So if that happens, I think the most likely situation at that point would be, we basically have a magnet price. It's probably not exactly this pretty, but you guys get the idea, where, we basically bounce around, call it, over under that 95K zone. And then where is Christmas? It is right here. Where is New Year's? It is right here. So yeah, I think this is just a very interesting area to think about what happens during this time frame, right? Do we get a breakout above 100K today and then basically just keep trekking higher through the end of the year? Or was this a trap in the short term, and then we kind of grind around, and then into the new year we get a breakout, something like that. That's what I think are the two bull cases if we hold above 92K. The other possibility here, and this is still bullish, but we could actually get a deeper pullback if we look at this leg up, which started at 67 and then peaked at 100. So if we look at this as one leg, right, we can see the sweet spot is right here. So on the low side, 80, on the high side, 88. And we've got the 50 period moving average, the 100 and the 200, which are still way back here. So does the trend stay strong? And do we get something like this? Okay, I posted this chart in Discord yesterday or the day before, I think. But the question is, like, we had this leg, and then we had, how many days was this from that pivot high? It was, just shy of 2 weeks of consolidation, but it held up even above this 21 period moving average. And you guys know I haven't historically used it. I've been doing some back testing on some new strategies in options markets and stuff. So you'll see I'm playing with some of my indicators, but this is what that lighter blue line is for anybody that's curious. But you can see, this was a run with a very shallow retracement. And then we got continuation, right? So that's what this would basically look like. Or is it something like this where we grind down to a deeper retracement to get to the 100 or the 200 or even just the 50 period moving average, right? So those are the possibilities. I think this is a market top? I don't think so. But just go back in history. If you're confused or if you're concerned or impatient, go back and look at what happens around these, big emotional price levels. This was 1,000. This was the second test, right? So you can't see on Coinbase's chart, but basically this was 2013. Okay. So what happened, this was when price was coming back from that 2013 bubble and came all the way back to 1,000. Look what happened here. We worked our way up. I remember this day, I think, was it here that Dan Blazarian was saying he was buying a bunch of Bitcoin, and something happened, and then it was like, oh, we got overextended, and there was this like 35% crash, which was a great dip buy, and then it grinded back up. And then right here, look at this scam wick. Very similar, right? Big stop clearing to the upside and the downside, turned into like this head and shoulders pattern. I think this was China banning Bitcoin for like the 13th time or some crazy thing. And then, you can see it took several weeks for it to grind back and eventually break out. And then you can see something that happened a little bit faster was the 10K break. So this was around 10K. We got a very similar stop clearing event. Look at that massive doji right at 10K, right? Went to 11.5 and then all the way back down to like 8.5. So this is what happens when you get around these big emotional price levels. You get typically volatility, but you can see the next day, inside day, but green, closed at the upper end of the range, green, and then boom, continuation. So that's kind of what I'm looking for there. I hope that's helpful. Again, I probably should have been punished with that stop order that I had. The ghost of Satoshi just allowed me to stay in, but had I had that order on spot, it would have definitely liquidated. So that's the danger of, trading around big emotional price levels. And I accepted the risk, right? I'm still in. And we'll see if it grinds. If today doesn't go, I'll probably close at least part of this futures trade by the end of today. Just to manage risk, because I don't know what's going to happen over the weekend. I don't like holding levered plays over the weekend. So some of you guys have never traded options or futures, and futures are just, it's a way to get leverage. It's a way to get extra juice. And I had some cash, and I'm like, let me just play around with this 100K zone. So that's why I bought it. But that you guys are seeing firsthand, like, what the risk is of doing that, especially around these very emotional price levels. So is this a 2017, 10K test? Is it a 1K test example, right? We have some prior examples to use as, things that we could line up as possible expectations. But again, the markets usually rhyme, but whatever happens here will be unique. It's like a fingerprint. It's not going to exactly follow what happened in prior examples, but you can just see what some of those possibilities look like. So I hope that's helpful, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great Friday and weekend, and stay safe out there.